Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in today. We'll wait for a few more minutes, maybe for others to join too, and then we'll start. All right, everyone. So let's get started. Welcome to AVETMISS Meshed RTOManager CRICOS webinar for 2023. I thank everyone who has joined in today for this session. So just before we start, please feel free to pop in your questions in the chat box. We'll record them and we'll get back to you with an email later. So in this session today, we'll cover the Meshed RTOManager CRICOS AVETMISS reporting feature. You can also find the link to the previous recording from last year on our YouTube channel. So what's the agenda for today? So in today's meeting, we'll actually look at the NCVER or National Reporting for AVETMISS, which is the fee for service data. So we'll look at the data collection process and timeframes from NCVER. We'll check how to extract the NAT file report from the Meshed RTOManager CRICOS platform. What's required to be reported and where the data actually comes from the RTO Manager platform. So we'll see some mapping documents. We'll also look at the submission tools and login details in the NCVR portal, the overall process to submit the data with a little practical demo. And finally, we'll also check out some of the common errors or warning messages that we receive from NCVR and how we can fix them to upload the data again to validate. So first, let's start with the data collection process and timeframes. So each year, NCVER provides a due date for the reporting of national data. So this year, the deadline is until 28th of February 2023. This would mean that all the data for collection year 2022 needs to be submitted to NCVER before this due date. That would mean the data for all the unit activities between 1st of January 2022 till 31st of December 2022. RTOs also have an option to do quarterly reporting. You may choose to do reporting for January to March or April to June within the year. This allows you to give a chance to the USI registry to update the USI transcripts for the students at the same time. Also, submitting the data before the due date well in advance is good, as it gives you enough chance and opportunity to fix your data, to fix any error that we are receiving in that data. You can find more information about NCVR on ESCA or on NCVR page itself. So let's see where the data comes from in our RTO Manager system and where we can extract the AVETMISS related zip file. So once you log into your RTO Manager platform with admin or SAdmin access, you will be able to see this AVETMISS tab on the dashboard. So this is where we need to go to extract the NAT files for our national data submission. So once we click onto this tab, which is highlighted in this picture here, we will come onto this new page. So as you can see in this new page, we'll extract the NAT files. So since the type for NAT files is national, we need to select the drop-down value as AVETMISS for national. The reporting type needs to be yearly, as we are doing the final year reporting for collection year 2022, and the collection year will be 2022. By default, all states will be checked, so we can keep it like that. And what we need to ensure here is that we select data for non-claim only. We need to uncheck the text box for AVETMISS claim because we do not want to extract any funded data. Only non-claim or fee-for-service data goes to NCVER. And once these selections are made, we click on export to text NAT files. So this will export a zip folder to our system and we'll get a set of 10 NAT files downloaded. Okay, and this is the folder that we are going to use to upload to NCVER. So once these steps are done, we'll have a zip folder downloaded and that zip folder will have 10 NAT files in it. So if you look at those 10 NAT files, the first one is the NAT10 file, which is the training organization file. So the training organization file talks about the RTO itself. So it will have details like the training organization identifier, the training organization name, which comes from the college info setup. NAT20, which is the training organization delivery location file, talks about the RTO's delivery location, which comes from the venue and training location setup in RTO Manager. Then we have the NAT30 file, which is the program or course file. So this file basically talks about any courses or programs that have students enrolled for the collection year. So for 2022, if you have got some courses in which there are student enrollments, those courses will be picked up in the NAT30 course file. So this will have details like the program ID, national code for the program name, and nominal hours of the program. NAT60, which is the subject file or the unit of competency file, picks up all the related subjects to the courses that come in NAT30. So for every course that comes in NAT30, there will be subjects related to it in NAT60 file. So this picks up details from our manage unit or manage module section. For example, details like subject identifier, subject name, subject field of education identifier, wet flag, and nominal hours. Then we have the NAT80 file. So NAT80 file is the client or student file. This file picks up all the details about all the students who are studying in 2022. So for any student, if there is any unit enrollment in 2022, that student will be picked up in NAT80 or the client file. So we'll have all the details regarding that student appearing in this file as recorded under the student profile page. Similarly, NAT85, which again talks about the student, but this talks about student postal details. So this will have all the information about students' postal details or address details. Again, as per the setup done under the student profile page. So whatever information we record under the student profile page will appear in these two files. Then we have got the NAT90 file. So NAT90 is the client disability file. This file will talk about any disability if recorded for any student which appear in the NAT80 or 85 file. So if there are students in NAT80 who have a disability recorded for them, that disability will be appearing in NAT90 file. This file may be empty as well if we do not have any disability recorded for any of the students. NAT100, which is the prior educational achievement file for the students. This file will talk about any prior educational achievement for the student which is recorded, any previous qualifications that the student has completed. Again, this file may be empty if there is no prior educational achievement recorded for any of the students. NAT120 is the enrollment or unit activity file. This file will pick up all the unit activity for the students studying in any of the courses as coming in NAT30 in the collection year 2022. So this file will pick up the details from student result page. So all the activity for the students in 2022 from 1st of January till 31st of December 2022 will appear in this file. So this will have data like the client ID, subject ID, program ID, the start dates, the finish dates, unit competency, and the funding sources. Finally, we have the NAT130 file, which is the program completed file. So if any student has completed a course in the collection year, which is 2022, that student will appear in this program, in this file, sorry. So NAT130 will pick up all the qualifications that have been completed by the students in the collection year 2022. So the details in this file come from the student course page. If the certificates have been generated for the students and the students have been marked as completed or graduated in the system. So once we have all these 10 files in the zip folder that we downloaded from the RTOManager platform, we can go into making an upload to NCVER. So for that, what we need to do is we need to go to the AVS page. So once we are on this website, either we need to register or sign in. So if you are a first time user, you will need to register. If you have an existing account already, you'll be able to sign in. So once we sign in here, we come to the collection processing page. So in this collection processing page is here where we make the upload. To make the upload, we click on new collection. So as you can see from the drop down here, we need to select new collection. Once we click on new collection, we select the year as 2022, which is our collection year. The period will be from January to December for the whole year. And then we need to click on add files. Once we click on add files, from our file explorer, we can choose the zip folder that was downloaded from the RTOManager platform. Once we click on add files, we can upload those zip files. And finally, we click on validate. Once we click on validate, we'll be able to see the status of each file. So for example, you can see in the screenshot here, it says if the file is validated or if the file has an error in it. Usually, if the file is validated, it means there is no errors or warnings in it. If there is a status of error in red, it means the file has multiple errors in it, which needs to be fixed. If there is status validated with a little underline, that would mean there are warnings in it. So once we have this error report appearing on the screen like this, we can address the errors, fix the data, repeat the same process and try to revalidate. So let's look at some of the common errors and warnings that we receive from NCVER and how we can possibly resolve those type of errors. So first, we have data extracted in the wrong format. So this is a very common error. For NCVER or national reporting, we need to extract data in national format. If we extract data in state format, that would throw an error in NCVER. So state data or any funded data needs to be submitted via state training authorities. Another common error is record containing illegal characters, which fails the initial validation of the files in NCVER portal. So any data recorded in the system, if it contains any illegal characters, for example, any commas, any hash signs, or any special symbols, that data needs to be fixed and updated because those characters are not acceptable in AVETMISS. Unit finish date year going cross year, but the unit has a valid outcome C or NYC recorded against it. So if the unit activity finish date is in the next year, let's say 2023, but the unit already has a valid outcome competent or not yet competent recorded against it, that would again give you an error in NCVER. So if the unit has not finished in 2022, the unit competency can be updated to code 70, which is CE. That means continuing enrollment. Course commencing ID issue. So if the course commencing ID is invalid, we can update the course commencing ID to 4. So by default, the course commencing ID for every unit enrollment would be 3. But if we are receiving the course commencing ID issues, we can update the course commencing IDs. Wrong unit ID. So if the unit identifier or the national code for the unit is not as per the TGA listing, we will again receive an error in NCVER. So what we can do to resolve this error is go to the TGA listing or training.gov.au's page and check the correct unit identifier for that particular unit. Field of education identifier. Again, if we have any errors related to invalid field of education identifiers, we can go to each unit level and update the fields for field of education identifier for that unit. Student address and training location address issues. Usually you will receive some errors in NCVER if the suburb and the postcodes are not a perfect match. NCVER follows Australia Post listing of postcodes. So if there is any error like this, what you can do is go to the Australia Post page and check for the postcode for that particular suburb. Based on that, you can update data as required for student address or training location address. Wrong funding source. So as we discussed earlier, funded data goes via state. So if you have marked any student unit as funded, that funding source needs to be updated as fee for service if the student is fee for service or non-claim. So you will need to go to the student result page and update the funding source for the units based on the error. Finally, we have course finish dates issue. So if the course finish date is not within the same year, when the activity has finished, then you will again receive an error. So if all the unit enrollment activities for the student have finished in 2022, but the student course finish date is not in 2022, will receive an error in NCVER. So for this, what we need to do is update the course finish date to the correct year. So as we have looked at some of the errors now, let's have a little demo to see how we will actually extract the files from RTOManager and how we will go on to uploading them to NCVER. So here I am on my RTOM test platform. This is our internal test site that I'm trying to use for a demo purpose here. So as you can see, I've logged in with the admin access. And what we are doing is we are going to the AVETMISS tab. So if I click on the AVETMISS tab here, I am on this screen. So this is where we will be exporting the data. So AVETMISS type to export, let's select as national because we are doing NCVER reporting. The report type will be yearly, which is correct. Collection year here needs to be 2022. Okay, so as you can see, by default, all the states are checked. We can keep this as not yet specified because this is not relevant to national reporting. And AVETMISS claim funded only. So you can see this checkbox is ticked by default, but this needs to be unticked because we are only submitting the non-claim data to national authority. We are not submitting any funded data. So once these selections are made, we click on export to text NAT files. So once I click here, you will see that a zip folder is downloaded. Okay, and this is the same zip folder that we'll use to upload an NCVR. Okay, so let's go to the NCVR portal now. So this is the NCVR portal. Since I already have an account, I can sign in. Once I sign in, I can go to new collection. So either I can go to new collection here or I can go to new collection from here. In new collection, you can see this is the collection processing page we looked at earlier. So we select the year as 2022. We select the period as January to December. Okay, you can see the dates are here, which is 1st of January till 31st of December. Now we click on add files. So you can see the file explorer has come up. This is the folder that I have just downloaded. So I click on open and upload files. As you can see, the status of the files is uploaded. Now we need to click on validate to see the error report or the status report for each file. Once we click on validate, in a few moments, you will be able to see what is the status for each file. Since we are using dummy data here, we are not a registered RTO, we may have multiple errors. So as you can see, there are a lot of errors in many files because this is only test data, but some of the files are validated as well. So this is what your status report may look like for the NAT files. Okay. Now there are two ways to address the errors. Either we can go to individual records like this and see what the error is, check the count, go on to individual record and try and fix it. Or what we can do is we can export the details for the errors in a CSV format, which will allow us to address all the errors in a readable format. So here, this is the report that I've just downloaded. So this is the error report from NCVR. I'll just make it more readable. So as you can see, there are files in which we have errors, error description, codes, and it also provides me with the client identifier or the program identifier where I have the issue. So for example, you can see there are some of the students where I have got the issues. So let's say if we filter the data based on the file, we can check for a particular file. So let's say we are checking for NAT80. And then you can also filter the errors based on errors or warnings. So let's say we are addressing the errors here. And we look for NAT80. Okay, so you can see there are a few errors in NAT80. So for example, this invalid postcode. So NAT80 for this client, now how do I know which client it is by looking at the client identifier. So this is the client identifier. So what we need to do is we need to copy this from this file, go into our RTO manager platform and look for that particular student under the student tab. So we search for that student. Now we need to check what postcode is there. So we go to student address page. And here you can see for this suburb, the postcode has been put as 0000, which is incorrect. So to fix this, I need to put the correct postcode for Burwood. So once I put the correct postcode for Burwood, I save the data and I re-extract the NAT files. So that's how you will address all the errors. So you will go one by one, fix the errors, update the data in RTO Manager platform, and then repeat the whole process, which is to extract the NAT files and re-upload an NCVR to get the status report. And once all your files are validated, you can finalize your submission or you can submit your data to NCVR. So based on this, we can see how the reporting to NCVR is done. So this brings us to the end of the session. Thank you everyone for your participation today. If you have any further queries related to AVETMISS or NCVR reporting, you can email us at support@meshgroup.com.au and we'll address your queries as soon as possible. You can also refer to the online help user guide for any assistance that you may require with RTO Manager. And if you have any questions in this session, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll get back to you with the response. Thank you.